favorites, Great man. 50 seconds to go. Hurts. Deep shot. Hold in, Devontae.
Sure. Before the press conferences even start. I mean, we could talk for 45 minutes just about how atrocious the defense is.
And a very good morning to everybody. Welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media. We're live every Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. as always, bright and early every single day. Get your day started right here at Trending in the AM. Got a jam-packed show today, an excellent special guest. But as always, all shows on DSM Media brought to you by Manscaped, the leader in men's grooming products, the GOAT in below-the-waist maintenance. Make sure you check them out, manscaped.com. Use promo code DSM. One promo code for the whole entire brand. DSM at checkout. Get you 20% off. Free shipping. Lets them know that Team DSM sent you. We got a lot to talk about today. Lots to go into. But I want to welcome our special guest on the I Have No Sponsor hotline. This is Coach Gabriel Martinez. He's a player rep at Pro Level Sports Agency. We've had a lot of these guys on before. I've had Coach Martinez on my shows before. We're going to talk a lot of football with him. But also, we're going to welcome him in because we're going to start the show with the fact that he's got a brand new job. He was just given the opportunity to become the head coach and defensive coordinator of the Ostrava Steelers in the Czech Republic. So, Coach, welcome this morning. I know it's early there in Texas, but first off, congratulations on this huge opportunity.
Hey, thanks very much, man. It's an exciting time, and very much so appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, for those that didn't see the last time you were on the show, obviously, you've been working with coaching and doing coaching for a really long time. I mean, right from a get-go as a college student, you were working at Texas Tech as an assistant, under the Coach Leach and Coach Tuberville. But, you've been working now at this, I mean, not to give away your age or anything, but for a while to get this opportunity, along the lines, some of the things that have led you to this and all, what are some of the moments in your career that have been getting you ready to become the head coach of a football team?
It just seems like every path I went down, was a unique one. For the longest time, I thought I was taking the long route just because it wasn't the normal route, right? So, going through college, going into a high school team and, putting your time in there is usually the way it goes, right? So I just always thought, man, I'm just, I got to learn the hard way. It's just how I am. But I've just been fortunate. I mean, every path I've been led down has been for a reason. There's been times where, I was 22, 23 years old, coordinating a defense, and we were playing inside Cowboy Stadium. I mean, that right there it's huge. I was coaching, adults at that time as well. So whenever you're, put into that role, having to, show them what show them that you care, the extra work that you put in, to prepare. And then just the fact that I've had some really good, mentors over the years, some really good head coaches that I've been able to learn from, spend time with, talk ball with, just spend life with, really. So, at the end of the day, it's all those little weird stops that I've taken that have really built up to this. And, ask me 4 or 5 years ago about international football, I would have, wouldn't have really known much about it. But I've been fortunate to make contacts with guys that have played and coached for a long time overseas, whether it be South America or Mexico, Europe, stuff like that. So it's all kind of led up to this, and I'm so appreciative to Ostrava for getting me a late interview, and they'd already had a few guys through, and everything went really well, and it's just it's clicked. So from that point on, so when stuff like that just kind of meshes and fits well, it's the right situation.
Absolutely. So let's talk about this. So the Ostrava Steelers, it's the Czech Republic. First off, have you ever been to the Czech Republic or been to Europe or any of those places before?
Never been to Europe, man. The extent of United States, been to a few different states here, and then been to Mexico a few times for different things. But no, never been across that pond, man. So it's going to be a whole different culture shock. So as much research as I can, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just really excited.
So you're obviously a family man. You got, I think it's 2 kids, right? I know you got a boatload of dogs. I know, we're friends on Facebook. My wife loves seeing the pictures of your dogs. We're big dog people and stuff here in my house.
Yeah.
So, you're a great family man. Obviously, this is going to be a huge, adjustment, leaving your family having to leave you. Talk about, the decision making that went in. Like, I'm obviously you sat down with your family and discussed this opportunity and stuff. Talk about the thought process there, the fears and stuff like that. That obviously leaving your family is going to be a big deal for the season.
Yeah, that was the biggest factor. I mean, that's without my family, without my wife, who's ultra supportive, and the reason why I have considered jobs out in Brazil or Italy and stuff like that, and considered even here in the States, moving to Mississippi and Oregon. There's been a lot of offers over the years, and they haven't worked out for one reason or another. But the fact that we push each other to go after our goals and our dreams, and we've been fortunate to live our dream here. We got into a brand new home about a year ago, 10 acres of land, like you said. Have all the dogs and cats and all that kind of stuff. So, we have no intention of uprooting from here. That we just only plan to have more roots and keep building to what we have. So, like I said, we've had those discussions in the past about different situations. This one, of course, a little different with it being like a full day, plane ride, type trip to the Czech Republic. But we talked about it. We wanted to make sure everything was good at home first and foremost, and it was all really positive conversations. And we live in a world now where it's this technology stuff. Hell, we're talking from 2 different parts of the country, and it'll be the same way over there, right? It'll just be a change with the 7-hour time difference and stuff like that. But the nice thing is I'm there to go do a job. I'm there to clock in, and at a certain point I'll clock out and come back home. So that's the way that we're approaching it.
The first time I went to Europe for one of my jobs, I went for 3 months, and the culture shock is, it's intense, but it's an experience that you'll never forget, obviously. All right, so let's talk about the Ostrava Steelers. So I was doing my research this morning on it, and the website for the team is obviously not in English, and the Google Translate of the website. So I'm trying to figure it out as we go here. So it looks like this European football team, and I'm sure a lot of the European football teams are like this. It's almost built like a soccer club. It looks like they got different levels and stuff like that. Am I correct in understanding the way that this league and this team is run?
Yeah, and most international teams are structured that same way. A lot of times you're kind of funded and organized through their soccer clubs. I don't believe they have one like that there, but it is very similar, right? So you'll have like a youth team where they'll start to try to develop kids from early age playing flag, similar to what we do here, and then you'll have junior leagues. So they'll start playing up until they're 18, 19, and then they transition to this national team. So that's what that's how they structure it. It's been going really well. They've had a lot of success over the years. Different American coaches have been through there. Most of the time, these coaches that go, they're like also a player on the team. So I think
I did see that I think on your team or another team in the league, like the offensive line coach is also an offensive lineman. Maybe it was on one of the other teams as I was doing my research. But yeah, I thought that was really, really interesting because you don't see that obviously in the States.
Yeah, totally different. It's a good thing because we're really fortunate here in the United States to have football from as early as 3 or 4 years old, right? So we're immersed in it. These guys have that come over, have played at a high level, have soaked up tons of film time and board time, and just have all that football IQ, so they get to go over there to share it. And it's I guess initially it was really surprising to see how big it is there too, right? So you're not really sure how it is, but they love football. They love the sport. I've been talking to a lot of the players and coaches on the team, and I mean we're talking in depth X's and O's. I mean it's not any backyard stuff. This is in depth terminology and stuff like that. So we're really fortunate. Our quarterback, Brad Jones, he's going to be he's our American import. So he'll be, handling most of the offense, and we'll be kind of tag teaming that together. But it's going to be a fun ride, man. It's going to be a different kind of journey.
What do you know when you were offered this job? I mean, obviously you probably researched the team a little. What do you know about your team? What do you know about like the weaknesses and strengths of your team, and like the biggest challenges you're going to have coaching this team? And obviously, some of these guys most of these guys are not Americans. So what do you know about what you have ahead of you here this upcoming season?
Well, they were really transparent, which was nice. They let me know right off the bat. Their biggest thing they were looking for was a guy that, could coach defense, that could coach defensive backs. That was their area in which they were just youngest in. They're still super talented, but they're just they don't have a whole lot of experience at that position. So having a guy like that, a guy that can come in, instill some discipline, some structure, stuff like that, and then work with what they have, right? So they're by no means a bottom feeder. I mean, they've competed in the championship game for 2 of the last 3 years. They just need to get over that hump, and that's what it was made clear to me that was the purpose of them looking for their next coach, was to try and get someone to, of course, get them back there, get them to the championship game, bring a championship home, and then like a long-term thing too. So, Brad was already actually signed with the team as a quarterback, so I was able to reach out to him early on before the offer was even made and just talk and get his thoughts about it, kind of share my thoughts, and we clicked right away. And I think he's actually going to be arriving there today. So he'll get to work, and they'll have their first practice this evening.
So when does the season start, and when are you heading over there?
Well, as far as the season, it should begin in April. I'm going to be nailing down a for sure schedule, probably sometime today, actually. So I'll be sure to send that along. But I'll probably be reporting mid to late February, just because it was something to where it was like, cool, like you're our guy. Can you be here in a week? And I was like, hold on, man. Like, I have some affairs in order, right? So, yeah. So we just, they've been really great working with the fact that, of course, I have stuff here in the States to take care of and make sure we're good here, and then head over. And we're doing a lot of stuff virtually. We had our first meeting last week. Sent over some practice scripts and stuff like that. So they'll be, working off of that today. We're in constant communication. I talk to my guys every day.
They're starting to practice and you're not there. Will you still be helping run these practices or setting them? Because I guess obviously in the last 2 years with COVID and all the different things, remote practicing has become a new thing, but it's something that every team can now do. So you'll be pretty hands-on still, even as you get over there, right?
Yeah, I mean they're set up well there, man. They have stellar facilities. They have a YouTube video that they just put out that their offensive lineman, like you were saying, he went through and kind of showed some of their facilities. I mean, they have state-of-the-art cold tubs, weight rooms. They're finishing up a first of its kind turf field for the games there. They have a separate practice field. I mean, all that kind of stuff. So huddle, of course, is huge. Be able to go through and film, certain periods of practice and be able to take a look at that and, assess it that way. Get with our coaches via, Google Meets and stuff like that, and just continually improve until I get there. And that's the name of the game, right? Just get better every week. We want to be playing our best football by the time that we're done. So we're gonna hit the ground running as soon as I get there.
Awesome. So, I mean, obviously, you're going as the head coach / defensive coordinator, which seems in a lot of the European leagues, a lot of the head coaches, wear multiple, not just head coach multiple hats, but coach multiple things. You've coached offense and defense in your career at different points. Do you prefer to coach one side of the ball or the other?
I don't.
As well-rounded person as you can, so you could be a great head coach.
That's the name of the game, yeah, for sure. I love defense. It's kind of where I started. It's where I cut my teeth in the coaching stuff. I was a coordinator there first before anything else. I love you have to play with high energy, and a lot of it's just effort and knowing the rules on the field for what you have, and then responding, right. We're reacting to what the offense is doing, but A lot of it too is, I've always been a student of the game where, what can we do pre-snap to, see what's coming, to try and give us an edge. And yeah, man, whenever it came time to go back to that side of the ball, I was pumped. I was like, okay, I've spent more or less the past few years doing offense. Like, it's great. Each side has its positives, of course, but defense, it's like, okay, let's go. Let's see what we have. Let's get all the pursuit stuff together, and just whatever we have to do to evaluate. And there's a huge team, from what they're bringing up from the junior league to this league to this team, and it's highly competitive, man. So it's a nice feat to be presented with and just face head on. And we're really just anxious to get on the field. And by the time we're done, I want our secondary to be one of our strengths. I think we really have that capability.
So that's actually interesting. So, I mean, as a coach, you have a coaching philosophy, a coaching style, something that you like. And obviously, DSM, we're a Philly-based network. And we had an interesting season on defense this year. And it was because the personnel did not match what the defense coordinator, Jonathan Gannon, wanted to run. So as a coach, how hard is it for you to, like I want to run this style of defense, but my personnel don't match it? A lot of the problems in Philly were, trying to put a round peg into a square hole. As a coach, how do you handle that? And like, is it tough mentally? Like, hey, I love this style and I want to run this is what I run, but my personnel doesn't equal that. So as a coach, what would you do in that situation? When you get over there and you see these guys, you want to run this and you can't.
Yeah, that was something we talked about early on too, is the fact that, they have what they have, right? I mean, they have the guys that are in place. I can't just, manifest a huge nose tackle. I can't manifest, a intelligent, heady middle linebacker, stuff like that. So whatever they have is they have, and I told them straight up, like, I've ran everything. I've ran everything on the offensive side of the ball. I've ran everything on the defensive side of the ball. 4-3, 3-4, bear. I mean, towards exclusively nickel, all that kind of stuff. I have my playbook in place. I have scheme and technology or terminology and stuff ready to be implemented. But ultimately, what's going to be best for them? Right? So I mean, yeah, a lot of them speak English pretty well. A lot of them speak English really well.
About that question.
Yeah, but I don't want to have terminology on the field to where we're trying to work at an efficient pace with English words that maybe just don't click. So whatever I can do to help learn their terminology, learn their language. I've been taking small daily lessons on this Duolingo thing and it's a hard language, man. It's one of the harder languages in the world. But anything like that to where at least I can put in 45 days of that on my own time to where when we get there, I can help. And just that communication is one of the biggest factors when it comes to the game. So no, man, I don't try to force the issue. What we have, there's what we have. I've asked the defensive coaches, defensive captains that have a lot of say on the team, what they think. We seem to be a team that's going to come out with a 4-3. I have a lot of experience there, and we're going to ride with that. We'll have some different packages ready to go once we get some DBs going to introduce a nickel or introduce a bigger front. If we're playing a team that we need to stop the run again, stuff like that. But it's like I said, it's not a huge stretch because they've already had these concepts built in, right? They know what a cover 3 on one side, and something different opposite side. They know how to man up. They know how to account for blitzes and cover different zones and stuff like that. So I'm not walking into a situation where it's a huge undertaking. It's like, oh, cool, like let's we'll see what you got, let's roll with it. We'll get better at it, and we're just gonna play fast, man. I mean, that's what I'm telling these guys all the time. Like, if we're gonna mess up, let's mess up doing 110 miles an hour, and then we'll correct that and we'll keep playing.
I love that. Mess up 110 miles an hour. That's fine. I love that. It's kind of like the Andy Reid. Andy Reid had a great line. I don't know if you heard it this weekend with Patrick Mahomes when there was 13 seconds left. and he said it looks grim, and Andy Reid's like, "Well, be the Grim Reaper."
Yeah.
Those little coaching lingo things there. I love that. So it's the Czech Republic League, and I've had a lot of guys. We're talking to Coach Gabe Martinez, new head coach, Ostrava Steelers here. He also works with Pro Level Sports Agency, and I've talked to you before. A lot of the guys from a lot of the players and other reps from Pro Level Sports Agency. You guys represent a lot of guys that play in a lot of different leagues, and they all say obviously it's a step below all these other leagues. The NFL, obviously, the talent's a little bit lower. But what about the game itself? Is it still the same style of football? I mean, obviously, we saw this weekend in the NFL. It's a quarterback-driven league. There's some great defenses, obviously, but it's whoever's got the elite of the elite quarterbacks are the teams that win. Is it a similar style of football in Europe where it's you need a great quarterback, you gotta be able to put points on the board and that kind of stuff, or is it played a little different over there?
It's very similar. They adopt what we do here very, very quickly. There's not much of a time lapse. You'll see a lot of spread teams. You'll see a lot of RPOs. You'll see, stuff that hasn't been around here all that long is ingrained in that culture over there, right? So, it's very competitive. Even with this Czech league, you have teams like from Prague and different places that they just have had maybe a little bit more success in the past, or have won those championships, gotten there and won, right? So they have that under their belt, which is great, but you don't have one until you have one, right? So we're going to go down there where we're going to fight hard. Our goal is to be there, bring one back for Ostrava, and then you just keep rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously you brought up an interesting word there, culture. And a lot of talk on social media, and I'm heavily in the social media conversations, especially this past weekend was probably one of the best divisional round playoff, maybe one of the best weekends of football ever. I don't know how much of the 4 games you caught, but I was glued to my TV all weekend long with these great football games. And the conversation, I don't know if you see this, is talking about what's more important to win, because if you look at the 4 teams left, you got 4 totally different teams. Is culture and the mindset and a good defense, and strong all around more important than having, you look at that Chiefs Bills game, you just had 2 elite quarterbacks just dueling it out. And obviously Buffalo had the number 1 defense in the league, and that wasn't enough. It was elite quarterback versus elite quarterback. So what's more important, like something like San Francisco, where you have a great culture there, an okay quarterback, but a great defense, a great running game, a great offense, great trench. I love to call it trench warfare in football. I'm a big fan of the trenches in football. Is that more important when you're building and running a football team, or is it more important to just have that elite of the elite quarterback running your team? That just no matter what the circumstances are, Patrick Mahomes, it doesn't matter. If there's 13 seconds left, he can go down and get a field goal. What do you think in football is more important?
Having that elite guy is great. Patrick Mahomes, especially, he's from here, Texas Tech and all that. We got to see him for a long time. He was that guy in college, but didn't have that success because he didn't have everything else around him. Right. He didn't have a very good defense. He didn't have there wasn't a great culture here really of winning, for a long time by the time he was here, right? So, what makes that difference between him being a good college quarterback, obviously he's still picked highly in the draft, and, his intangibles were what got him there, right? His size, his big arm, athleticism, all that kind of stuff. That's what ultimately got him picked that high. Same thing with like Cliff Kingsbury. He was here, and he had a losing record while he was here. But then you translate over to, a team like the Cardinals, to answer your question, I think the culture is bigger. Because you can have that guy, but if you don't have everything else surrounding him, if you don't have the culture to promote to your piece players, to your guys, your supporting cast, right? Then you just have a star in a pretty bad movie, and that's not always fun to watch, right?
I love that line. Yeah, I'm going to steal that today. Patrick Mahomes has got like the best of both worlds, because he's got that elite. He is literally probably the best quarterback in the league right now, but he's also got Andy Reid, a guy that's built a culture for 25 years now in the NFL, where he first coached to ever take 2 different teams to 4 straight championship games. So, and to to kind of continue that conversation, obviously in Philly, we talked last time you were on the show about Jalen Hurts and, another good Southern boy there. You guys have seen him down there before, about how, there's a lot of talk about how he doesn't have the physical talents. But the other end of the spectrum is that he's got intangibles, he's got leadership and stuff like that. And if the Eagles could build culture around him, they already have a great offensive line, one of the best in football, running game, build that defense up and whatnot. Can a quarterback, if he can grow into the 10th, 12th, 15th best quarterback with all the other intangibles around him, be a successful quarterback? And I'm on the side that says yes. Then there's also 50% that say no. You need to just keep moving on quarterback to quarterback till you find the next Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrows, or something like that. So it's a topic that's super hot in Philadelphia at this point.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, even Patrick, right? I mean, early in the season, you had people calling for his job, and because he wasn't performing very well. But I mean, he was dealing with a bunch of guys that were replacements and guys he probably hadn't worked with very much. And they talked about it on the broadcast. It forced him to be a better quarterback, a better player overall, because he was having to, slow down, not put so much on his own shoulders, but rely on the guys around him. And that's what's going to be in Philly. I think Jalen's got a huge upside. Like you said, they have a great O-line. That's where it starts. That window is, who knows how long that window is going to be there for that O-line. So you have to take advantage of that. Everything else is pretty good on the offensive side. Age-wise, they have young pieces around them. He's young himself. The defense is, it's always tough to have a great defense in the NFC East. Whenever you have the Cowboys are loaded, and it still didn't translate. I mean, hey, I'm a Texas guy, and I can't disagree with you, man. You have all those pieces, and yet, I mean, they're not doing anything with it. So,
on Jalen Hurts, as a coach, I only got like 2 more minutes of your time here. I did want to ask you, as a coach, something that I've been trying to talk about. And I'm not a coach. I've been watching football for 40 years, but I'm not a coach. So Jalen Hurts seems to have one strong weakness. It's his, everyone says it's an arm strength, but I don't think it's arm strength. It's he doesn't read and react quick enough. He doesn't go through his progressions quick enough and properly. And I keep saying that that's coachable. And there's a lot of people that tell me no. If he doesn't know that now at 23 years old, you can't coach read and react. Can you coach read and react and how to be quicker at that?
Absolutely. I mean, that's all stuff that can be done. That's board work, right? That's film study. That's practice reps, all that kind of stuff. And it's up to him ultimately if he wants to put the emphasis on it and identify it as a weakness and go from there. But I mean, hell, you had Brett Favre, MVP guy that didn't even know what a nickel defense was for the longest time, and he was out there torching teams. So it's a long career for these guys. Jalen's been able to really rely on his athleticism and just the supreme talent that he had around him in college to do a lot for him at both programs he was at. Now it's one of those things where he just has to continually get better, right? So he wants to take that next step next year. If that's an area of weakness this year, maybe next year won't be, and then he'll be, considered a top 10 guy. So it's definitely something that can be worked on.
Look at it, like some of his interceptions thrown, they're like, oh, he doesn't have the arm strength. I'm like, no, that was a strong throw. He just waited 0.3 of a second too long to make the pass. And in a football game, a second is too long. You know what I mean? So, and I keep preaching, you can coach that, you can coach that, you can coach that. And obviously, just like in Dallas, and in Texas, just in Philly, it's never debatable. It's either you're yes or you're no. And I try to debate in the middle, and no one wants to debate in the middle there with me on that. So, But anyway, all right. So again, we got Coach Gabe Martinez, head coach, Ostrava Steelers. Man, I'm super excited. I was going to follow some other teams, but now I have to follow the Ostrava Steelers now because all of Team DSM Media, we're going to be rooting you on here, all season long.
Hey man, I greatly appreciate it. I love it being on here, and I love what you guys do. So we'll have to do it again once I'm there, and maybe.
Is there a way to watch the European football leagues online? Are they streamed on YouTube or anything like that? Or
yeah, they'll be streamed. They'll be. I know they're televised locally on their cable channels there, so they do a really good job of promoting it. But I'll be sure to send everything over as it comes.
Send me links once the season gets started, and where the games, and I'll make sure we watch it. And Maybe we'll do an Ostrava Steelers post game show since the Eagles aren't playing right now. I'll do some post game shows and talk about the games and how they play out for you.
Hey, that sounds good, man. You might want to make sure it's like the day after, because if you're doing it, post game, who knows what time that is. So, no, but yeah, thanks so much for your time, Phil. It's been
Thank you
great,
very
man.
much,
And
very good luck this year, and congratulations on the new head coaching job.
Thanks, man. Y'all take it easy.
Thanks. Bye-bye. All right, that was Coach Gabe Martinez, new head coach, Ostrava Steelers, on the I Have No Sponsor hotline. If you would like to sponsor my hotline, reach out to me on Twitter at Beard of Knowledge, and you could sponsor the I Have No Sponsor hotline. I would greatly appreciate a sponsor for the I Have No Sponsor hotline. Anyway, that was a great interview, great content, great, information from Coach Martinez there. Not just about his great experience going on to now coach in the Czech Republic, but just in football in general. I'm going to replay that interview again after the show and kind of dissect a little bit about what he said about football in general, and just it'll be a great talking point for future shows when we're talking about Jalen Hurts, when we're talking about the offense, when we're talking about the NFL and elite quarterbacks versus culture. I loved how he said culture to him is more important than just an elite quarterback, because you still got to have the pieces around him, and that point that Patrick Mahomes is obviously the elite of the elite in the NFL right now, no doubt about it. But you got to remember, he's got Andy Reid, who's been in this league for 25 years, and he has a culture built around him. It's not like they have a perfect team around Patrick Mahomes, but they have great weapons in Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, and they have a culture, a winning culture. I mean, he's been to two different teams, 4 straight championship games. That just goes to show what kind of culture Andy Reid's built. So you still need that culture if you want, because just he's down there in Texas. Look at the Cowboys. Dak Prescott, a really great quarterback. Maybe not elite, but he's definitely in that second tier. You got Cooper, Lamb. You had Gallup. You have Ezekiel Elliott. You had They have all the talent. Micah Parsons on defense. They have a great defense. But what are they? They're one and done in the playoffs because the culture that Mike McCarthy's built around him isn't there. So I think it's really important to talk about culture versus just having an elite quarterback. So let's continue to build the culture here. Whether Jalen Hurts is the guy or not, we could discuss that. But keep giving Nick Sirianni time to build the culture here and then see what happens, going forward after that. So I think it's a very interesting topic. It's something that we can continue to dissect and continue to talk about as we go forward here this off season. So it's something to definitely continue to talk about, discuss, and see how it goes here. So on that point, we're going to transition into the rest of our show. That was a good 33 minutes there. So today, we didn't do it at the start because I only had a few minutes of Coach Gabe's time. So I do want to mention my National Calendar Day because today, we start the show with it. So instead, we're going to do it in the middle because today is National Opposite Day. Today is also National Irish Coffee Day. I hope my wife doesn't know that because she's probably drinking one right now then, if she knew that before we go to work. Today is National Plan for Vacation Day. I have no vacations planned on the horizon, so that may have to change. And today is National Florida Day. National Florida Day. So to all my Florida followers, all my Florida fans, happy National Florida Day. Hopefully someday in the near future, I can live in Florida with you and we could be part of National Florida Day together. I love that there's a national. Last Tuesday was National Michigan Day. My boy Jason Sullivan, who I do my golf show with tonight, 9 p.m. Fairway to Heaven. He lives in Michigan, but we both want to someday move to Florida. So it seems like all the national days that link the two of us together happen to fall on Tuesdays when we do our shows. So today, National Opposite Day, National Irish Coffee Day, National Plan for Vacation Day, National Florida Day. Super good days today. We'll see. Let me see here. Tomorrow. There's some interesting ones tomorrow. We'll be making some jokes tomorrow about the national days, not some actual discussions on it. But anyway, transition. Rest of the show, we're going to talk some Sixers. We're going to talk some baseball, and then wrap the show up for today. So again, yesterday, more rumors, of course, surrounding Ben Simmons came out, and the Sixers came out. The Sixers tonight, they play the New Orleans Pelicans. It's one of their last 4 games of the month. They're right on pace. I said 11-4, 12-3 was what I wanted them to finish this month out. They're on pace. Probably they got 4 games left. If they go 3-1, they hit that 11-4 mark like I had hoped for. But they've kind of had the last couple games. They're 2-2. Blowout loss in Washington. big blowing of a lead against the Clippers on Friday night, but then obviously beating Orlando and San Antonio. San Antonio, their last game on Sunday. You got New Orleans. You're starting a 5-game home trip now. You got New Orleans, you got the Lakers, you got the Sacramento Kings, the Memphis Grizzlies to finish out the month, and to start the month of February, you got Washington. So 5 games in a row there. They should hypothetically win at least 3 of their next 4 games to close out the month, because Memphis is obviously a great team. They're playing great basketball right now. But New Orleans is obviously winnable. Sacramento is obviously winnable. The Lakers aren't playing great either. It'll be a national game on TNT, so hopefully we get some of our guys back for that game. But if we look at tonight, against New Orleans, it looks like we've got a where is it here? Why can't I find the box score now? Here it is. So we've got still Seth Curry. He's ruled out. Danny Green, Shake Milton, Matisse Thybulle still out. So we're still going to be going shorthanded against the Pelicans. The Pelicans, again, they've played better basketball as of late. They have won 2 in a row. But overall, they're 18-28, but they haven't played awful basketball of late. They've 4 of their last 6, 5 of their last 7. They've played better, compared to when early in the season when they were like 1-15 or something like that, 1-12, whatever it was. So they've obviously gotten better, played better. They're an 8.5-point favorite, the Sixers tonight at home. Obviously, as expected, you wouldn't expect them to be underdogs in this game. Brandon Ingram day to day, he'll probably play tonight, but that's their only real issue on injury front for the New Orleans Pelicans. I want everybody to watch the game and pay attention to Brandon Ingram if he plays. He's never talked about. What's up, Drew? How you doing? You missed the great first half of the show talking to Coach Gabe Martinez. You'll have to go back and watch that. Guy just was hired as a head coach of a European football team. And he's obviously a player rep in Philly. He represents a lot of 8 players in football. Go back after the show, watch the first half. It's interesting, a lot of insight on Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni and just NFL football in general. But anyway, Brandon Ingram's not a name that's brought up in trade talks much, and it's a name I've brought up a lot, or at least tried to bring up from time to time. It's a guy that I think would fit in really well with the Sixers. If there was a deal to be made with the New Orleans Pelicans, whether it was Tobias Harris, or it was a 3-team trade involving Ben Simmons, I would absolutely love to see Brandon Ingram playing the 3, opposite of Joel Embiid. I think it would be a great fit. We would obviously lose on defense there, but offensively, I think Brandon Ingram would look fantastic in Sixers red, white, and blue. It's a guy I've talked about a lot there. But obviously tonight, we should win the game. But tonight's game's not even the story. It's the story that it continues to be the last day or two talk about James Harden coming to Philly. James Harden, Daryl Morey, the connection there. James Harden, Daryl Morey. Daryl Morey always wanted to bring James Harden wherever he goes. And the topic, if you're not making moves because you're waiting till the offseason to figure out if you can get James Harden, and whether it's punting on the season, whether you're doing a disservice to Joel Embiid, that is the topic of conversation that's circulating around Philly. And there's a lot to digest about a James Harden deal. But obviously, it's how do you get him here? Do you sign and trade him, which creates so many problems? I'm reading an article here, financial speaking. He's going to make $46.5 to $50 million next year if we sign and trade for him. I mean, it literally takes our cap to a point where we have like $6 million left to sign 6 or 7 guys, which is almost impossible. So you're going to have to get a lot of undrafted free agents, because next year, guys, Danny Green, Shake Milton, Isaiah Joe, Paul Reed, Bassie are all up. You only have next year under contract, outside of Ben Simmons, who won't be here next year most likely, is Embiid, Harris, Curry, Furkan, Matisse, Niang, Maxey, and Springer. So there's not much. So you bring in a sign and trade, you're basically running with those 8 guys, 7 guys, and Harden, and then whoever else you can fill out the roster for super cheap. Makes it really tough. Really, really, really tough. And then your depth is just completely out the window. So then there's the thought process. Could they just trade away guys for expiring contracts and then just sign him? That's another topic. And yeah, teams like the Thunder and other teams out there would take a Tobias Harris contract. You would have to get rid of Harris and Simmons to do it. And, then again, you're putting yourself in a spot where you're losing depth. And then the third end of the equation is, does James Harden even want to come to Philly? And I think that is the bigger topic. Does James Harden really want to leave Brooklyn, where he's playing with Kevin Durant, the best scorer in basketball, probably one of the best scorers of all time, Kyrie Irving, one of the greatest players, in the league, even when he's playing, obviously. You know, what would entice him to want to leave that trio to come here and play with Joel Embiid? Obviously, there's the topic of the Sixers fans and Philly fans and stuff like that. Obviously, you got the rumors circulating about how Michael Rubin, and Daryl Morey, they have the connection with James Harden. They got friendships with James Harden, and maybe that, works into it a little bit. I don't know if putting all your eggs in the basket to bring James Harden to Philly in the offseason is the way to go. If I had a 95% like understanding that it was happening, sure, you make a minor move with Tobias Harris to improve this team now. You save Ben Simmons if you have to for next season. You do something like that, then fine. Or you make a trade with Ben Simmons now and you get pieces in here that you could keep or move if James Harden becomes available. Do that. I don't like the theory of putting all your eggs in the basket of James Harden and James Harden only. And that's a fear of mine. And let's think about James Harden as a whole. Do you want James Harden in Philly? Next year, he'll be 33 at the start of next season. Okay, let's look at his numbers this year. All right, his points per game is 22.7. He's played 41 games so far, so he's missed a couple games, which tends to be a trend. He misses 5 to 10 games a year now, about approximately now. He hasn't played a full season, even most of a full season since 2016 when he played 81 games. 22.7 points a game. It's his lowest point total since his last year in Oklahoma City, which was his third year in the league. His rebounds and assists are still strong, obviously, but his overall three-point percentage, 33%, lowest since ever. He's never shot that low. The previous low was 34.5%. He's at 33.8 right now. So his three-point percentage gone down. Actually, no, that was just part of his season in Houston there. So actually, his worst three-point shooting percentage was in 16 when he shot 34.7. Okay, so 33.8, lowest three-point percentage of his career. His overall field goal percentage, 41.9%. It is his lowest since his rookie year of 40%. He hasn't shot, and his second worst season was his second year, 43%. So he's shooting at a lesser clip, and he's getting older. So you're putting all your eggs in the basket for a 33-year-old elite player, no doubt about it, that may or may not want to come here. And a guy that may be slightly, very slightly, even on a decline, he's still one of the best players. Absolutely. I think you need to trade now and take players that can be around Embiid now. I agree with you on that. And that's what I want to do. But if Daryl Morey's smart, you can make moves. There's moves to be made with Sacramento that then, if you want to get James Harden, if it's available, some of those pieces can then be flipped to Brooklyn in that sign and trade deal. So you could do both. You could build around Embiid now and put a better product around him now to make a run now. And then still in the offseason, bring James Harden in. So, the thought is James Harden really the answer? And I think it comes down to, if you can make a move, bring in James Harden, do what I just said. Bring in pieces now, make a run now, because let's be honest, the Eastern Conference is wide open. I've talked about it on my show nonstop lately. The Sixers are in the 6th seed, only 2.5 games out of first. Okay? There's literally 2.5 games separating 1 through 6. There's 4 games separating 1 through 7. Okay? The Bulls are obviously starting to fall down. They got injuries and whatnot. The Nets are there. The Heat are number 1. I don't know if the Heat can hold it. The Bucks are only a game out of first. Cavs, how they're still only a game and a half out. That Cavs team is playing fantastic basketball. Coach of the Year candidate possibly right there because, no one expected him to be this good. Like when we saw Washington break out early in the season, the Wizards, we knew they were going to come down to earth. We said the same thing about the Cavaliers. Eventually they were going to come back down to earth. But 48 games in the season, they have not come back down to earth. They're still right there in the thick of it. And, you still get the Hornets playing great basketball. They've won 7 of their last 10 games. The Eastern Conference is really tight, but it also makes it super, super winnable at this point. So, why wouldn't, the Sixers go out and try to make a move? Like I said, I keep bringing up the Sacramento Kings because it just seems, the most likely thing. You go get Healed, you go get Halliburton, and you go get a first-round pick for Ben Simmons, okay? And then Halliburton or Healed packaged with somebody else or that first-round pick to Brooklyn for James Harden if that becomes an option. And if it doesn't, you still got Healed and Halliburton next year, plus you got an extra first-round pick to move maybe whether you go get somebody else, Dame Lillard or, Bradley Beal, something else. You've got then assets that continue to move for that superstar to put next to Joel Embiid. But, you don't want to continue to just, punt on the season. I hate that term, actually. The whole term punting on the season is it's a tough term to use, because I don't think that just standing pat would be punting, because Joel Embiid is obviously playing at an MVP level. He is literally, I don't know if I've ever seen, this would be right up there with Allen Iverson's MVP season, just carrying a team. And we've seen it in the past. I know there weren't super teams, quote unquote, when Iverson, was leading the Sixers. But, that team that Iverson took to the title round against the Lakers, it was him and a bunch of nowadays G League type players, Eric Snow, Aaron McKee, all nice role players, not guys that George Lynch starting. Come on. That team was not good. I think Matt Geiger was even on that team. That team was not good. But Allen Iverson willed them through the playoffs. And Joel Embiid is the type of guy, his minutes, he isn't playing 38 to 45 minutes a game right now. He's playing 28, 32 minutes a game. He's staying healthy. He's doing what he can to protect his body as best as he can. He still can, even without a move, possibly will this team. And every single game goes by, Tyrese Maxey gets better and better and better and more confident with his shot. I think they said since he came back from the COVID list, I think he's shooting like 52% from three. The confidence, and he's not going to shoot that high the rest of the season from deep. The confidence he has in his shot right now is unbelievable. And it's something that just, can this team, as it continues to build and grow, maybe continue to make a run as is. And then you're saving those assets for the offseason, to make a run at whoever it may be. There is a thought process that's possible. You look at the Eastern Conference, can this team, if it gets a little bit better, just more confident in themselves, beat the Bulls or the Heat? Right now, we'd be playing Brooklyn in the first round. Yeah, that probably doesn't work. We probably lose to Brooklyn as is. But if we play the Bulls or the Heat in the first round, we could beat them. If we play the Cavs or the Bucks in the first round, yeah, we could definitely beat the Cavs in a best of seven. The Bucks, maybe. I don't know. I just like to think that, maybe standing pat, it's not punting on the season, because you're still having MVP Joel Embiid. You still got Tyrese Maxey, and you still got some really great pieces, and Matisse is starting to come into his own as well. So it's a really interesting conversation, whether you go all in next year for James Harden or not. And does that mean, are you punting on the season? And I just don't know. I still want to see Daryl Morey make a move. I still want to say, I got a lot of flack yesterday. I put out a tweet, that Daryl Morey is doing a disservice to Joel by not making some kind of a move to improve this team and just holding out all his eggs for James Harden. I stand by that. I think by not making an effort to get something, even if it's trading Danny Green, for a better bench piece, or, going out and upgrading, something, go move Shake Milton if you have to for a better backup, for a veteran backup point guard, something like that could make a difference in this team. But by not making any moves and just standing pat, Daryl Morey is just telling the world, I want James Harden, and that's it. Which tells me that we were never in the conversation with Dame Lillard either. That Dame Lillard was never on Daryl Morey's short list of guys that he wanted to bring here. But Daryl Morey, I said it before. I said it when we hired Daryl Morey years ago, and I'll say it again. What has Daryl Morey ever won? He's won an Executive of the Year, but that team didn't make the finals. I think he's only had one team in his. I don't even know if he's ever made the finals, NBA finals before. I know he's made one Eastern Conference final with the Rockets, and that was it. That was the year he got James Harden there in Houston. But what has Daryl Morey ever won? To have all of Philly put their faith in him, to have the organization put their faith in him, and he gets this reputation as this great president / GM. And honestly, he's been good in his career, but he's never won a title. He's never built a championship team. And that's what concerns me about Daryl Morey is, we're letting him put all his eggs in a James Harden basket, which whatever, if that's what he wants to do, that'll be his rep for, going forward, but I don't know if he's the answer as the president GM of the Sixers. And am I wrong to bring that conversation up? I don't think so. But I think it's a conversation that needs to be had as we continue to have this James Harden talk day in and day out right now. So I really, really, really think that we need to work on, focusing on how we can improve this team now. If you want to keep that James Harden ticket in your back pocket, make moves now that help the team now, but also help you in the future. And I really think that that's the thing. But again, the other end of that conversation is, can Joel Embiid, can he, carry this team on his own on a playoff run like we saw Allen Iverson? I mean, he is literally playing the best basketball, I've seen since Allen Iverson in 2000, 2001. Maybe some of the best basketball ever from a big man. I mean, ranks right up there with some of Shaq's, dominant seasons. Now, obviously, I didn't see Wilt Chamberlain play. That was before my time. But, some of the great big men. I mean, this is like literally one of the most amazing seasons we've ever seen in Philadelphia. I mean, right up there with some of the superstars of all teams. Okay. Right up there with Ryan Howard's MVP season, Jimmy Rollins' MVP season, Allen Iverson's MVP season, Carson Wentz MVP season. This is right up there. If you take a Kings package, then I say try a sign and trade for Beal. Sure, if the Harden thing doesn't work out, I think, Drew, there is a way you can take a Kings package now, and I've seen articles and things written. If you get the right pieces in the Kings trade, you still can sign and trade for Harden, for Beal, for Damian Lillard, my guy. There are still packages out there that you could do both, which a Kings trade helps them now, improves the team now, and then still gives you the option for next season. So, I think there is a way to make both work. I really do. And I think they need to focus on that big time. So, what will happen? I don't know. Like I said, they got the Pelicans tonight. They should win that game. Should get them to 28-19 on the season. Again, the season, it's a long way to go. We're just past the halfway point, but it's still there. So real quick before we wrap this show up, I do want to touch on a few things real quick, baseball wise. Obviously, the Players Association did meet yesterday with the owners, and there was a meeting finally. It lasted longer than 7 minutes. Thank goodness. They made a new proposal. It didn't, obviously, it's just step one of a million in a process, but the fact that it didn't end in 7 minutes is progress. The fact that, that players were showing that they were willing to negotiate is progress. They are supposed to have a face-to-face meeting today to continue the discussions from yesterday. Whether, it did not last 8 minutes. It lasted 2 hours yesterday, approximately. So I think, there's definitely some, progress being made there. And I will stand by it that I think that we will not miss a single game. Not just, not just not just regular season games being missed, but I don't think we miss preseason spring training games either. I think they get this wrapped up maybe by the end of the month, maybe the first couple days of February. But I think if February 10th, February 14th, somewhere in that range, when pitchers and catchers normally report, I think the deal's done by then. It gives them about a month to hash it out. The players have already shown they're willing to negotiate on the free agency rule that they were trying to push for less time to get to free agency. They've already shown that. They've pushed for some changes. They've cut back on some of their proposals. I think it happens. I think it gets done. And I think that we get there. So I'm not too concerned. I think I think this gets done, and I think it gets done really soon. So one final baseball topic that I want to talk about, and it's going to come up today a lot. We're going to probably spend a lot of time on tomorrow's show talking about it. Today is the day that they announced the Hall of Fame ballots and the final voting for the Hall of Fame ballots. Who gets into the Hall of Fame this year? And I'm going to finally make my final picks for who I think should be on the Hall of Fame or who should get in on the Hall of Fame. Again, I've been trying to get Rob Motti on. He wants to talk about, the voting process and, and the political statements that, the Baseball Writers Association of America make. It's pathetic. One person saying they were only voting for Jeff Kent to make a statement. Well, that guy should lose his voting rights if that's what he's doing. But anyway, this year, obviously, it's the last year for Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, some of those type of guys to get into the Hall. And yes, when I was a young 22, 25-year-old guy, Guy said they shouldn't get into the Hall, the steroid thing, whatever. But as I've evolved and as I've grown up and matured, I realized they should get in. Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, yes, should get into the Hall of Fame. So should Curt Schilling. Curt Schilling has not been in the Hall of Fame yet for one single reason, and that is because he's pissed off a whole bunch of writers, and they won't vote him. It's pathetic. So let's go down the list real quick. Abreu, Bond, the first column. Abreu, Bonds, Burley, Clemens, Carl Crawford, Prince Fielder, Todd Helton, Ryan Howard, Tim Hudson, Torrey Hunter. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens should get in the Hall of Fame. Absolutely. Todd Helton, he's borderline in my opinion. Ryan Howard won't get in. I know some Phillies fans may vote him or not. But in that first column, I'm putting my vote for Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens. Some people may say Todd Helton. I wouldn't put him in there. I don't think he's quite there, as a first baseman. In the second column, you got Andrew Jones, Jeff Kent, Tim Lincecum, Justin Morneau, Joe Nathan, David Ortiz, Big Pop, Papelbon. I don't even need to say his first name. I just say Papelbon. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Jake Peavy, Andy Pettit, AJ Przinsky. How Jake Peavy and AJ Przinsky are even on this list? That's the thing. I hate that they put random names on here. AJ Przinsky shouldn't even get the 5% of the votes to stay on the list. But in this second column of list, David Ortiz should get in. So that's 3 votes there. I also personally would vote for Andrew Jones. Andrew Jones, in about a 5-year window, was one of the best center fielders, not just hitting the ball, he hit for power. He was also one of the best defensive center fielders I remember watching. And as a Phillies fans, we saw a lot of Braves game. Sucks he won't get in this Philly. Yeah, absolutely. Andrew Jones definitely should get in my opinion. Ortiz. So there's 4 votes so far. You can put 10 names on the list. Right now I'm putting Bonds, Clemens, Jones, Ortiz on my list. The final list, a lot of interesting names on here. Manny Ramirez, Alex Rodriguez, Scott Rowland, Jimmy Rollins, Curt Schilling, Gary Sheffield, Sammy Sosa, Mark Teixeira, Omar Vizquel, and Billy Wagner. A lot of great players. Again, you can only vote for 10. And I got a lot of names in here. Manny Ramirez, he's a no. Just a no. Way too many suspensions for that guy. Way too much cheating for that guy. No, he's out. Alex Rodriguez, I put him in. Scott Rowland, I put him in. Jimmy Rollins, I put him in. Curt Schilling, I put him in. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 more names. That's 8. I got 2 more votes. I put Gary Sheffield in, and I put Omar Vizquel in. So I'm using my full 10 votes. Billy Wagner, he's borderline in my opinion, so that means no in my opinion. But if I had an 11th vote, I would probably vote for Billy Wagner. But Alex Rodriguez, it was great before the steroids. He would have been great without the steroids. Scott Rowland, one of the most underrated third basemen of all time. Jimmy Rollins, one of the best shortstops of all time. Curt Schilling, all Rays should be in. Gary Sheffield, great player. And Omar Vizquel, probably the best defensive infielder of all time, in my opinion. So that's my vote. We'll see. The trend says Bonds and Clemens might get in this year. If they don't, they're off the list, unfortunately. I think out of all the trends, the one that has the best chance, Curt Schilling probably does. But he shouldn't, it shouldn't be just him. It should probably be all 3 of them. You don't need an asterisk next to people's names, in the Hall of Fame either. Everybody knows what these guys did. Everybody knows about the steroid era. You can't hide it, So let's just embrace that what it was, teach people what it was, put them in the hall, and just make sure everybody growing up understands what it was. It is what it is, They deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. I'm going to vote for them if I had a vote. And that's how it is. There's my vote. That's my Hall of Fame. We're going to definitely digest tomorrow once the percentages come out, who gets in, who doesn't get in. We'll talk about that a lot tomorrow. Try to find a baseball guest to come on maybe tomorrow to discuss that and stuff with me. But that's my show for the day. This is Trending in the AM. Again, special thanks to Coach Gabriel Martinez on the I Have No Sponsor hotline. If you'd like to sponsor my hotline, reach out to me on Twitter at Beard of Knowledge. It says it right there under my name there. Reach out to me. You can sponsor the I Have No Sponsor hotline. And, have your name mentioned on the show every single time I have a guest on the show. Special thanks to him, new head coach of the Ostrava Steelers of the Czech Republic Football League. Super great guy, one of the pro-level sports agent, player reps, and also, like I said, a great coach, great football mind. Can't wait to have him on again. It's not his first time on the show, but we'll continue to bring him on. And like I said, once the season starts, we'll bring him on to talk about how everything's going over there in the Czech Republic. So wish him special luck. Again, good luck to the Sixers tonight. We'll also be breaking that game down tomorrow. And how whatever happens with that game and more rumors and everything else. Kurt says he's going to be going in as a Diamondback. Yeah, I mean, I probably, yeah, as I was talking with somebody on Twitter yesterday, if the Phillies would have gotten Randy Johnson in 93 like they tried to, and Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling were with the Phillies in 93 instead of waiting until they were with the Diamondbacks together. Man, that would have been a great 1-2 punch. But anyway, all shows on DSM Media brought to you by Manscaped, the leader in men's grooming products, the GOAT and below the waist maintenance. Check them out. Manscaped.com. Use promo code trending. Or no, not trending. Promo code DSM. Sorry, we forgot we changed the promo code again. DSM at checkout. Get you 20% off free shipping. Let them know Team DSM sent you. A great day, everybody. Have a great Wednesday or Tuesday. I'll be back tonight, 9 p.m. Fairway to Heaven, breaking down the Farmers Insurance with my man, Jason Sullivan, our special guest, Detroit Drew, will be joining us. So, yeah, make sure you check it out, 9 p.m. All your fantasy and gambling golf information you need for this week's event. Everybody have a great Tuesday. I will talk to you tonight at 9 p.m. And as always, we always like to end the show. We didn't talk much birds per se, but go Birds.